This is the Ottawa Senators Outlook. Here is your host, Jack Henry.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Ottawa Senators Outlook. I'm your host, Jack. This is my reaction to yesterday's trade between the Ottawa Senators and the Florida Panthers. So let's get right to it. So, as most of you know, the Ottawa Senators traded Vladimir Tarasenko to the Florida Panthers in exchange for a conditional 2024 fourth-round pick and a 2025 third-rounder. So the condition on the fourth-rounder is if the Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup this season, the pick becomes a 2026 third-round pick. So you're potentially either getting a third and a fourth or two-thirds. Regardless, I don't like the return. Obviously, we'll get to more about that in a second. But Steve Sales wanted at least a second and a prospect, maybe a first-rounder depending on what the team was and what teams Tarasenko was willing to wait for. But that doesn't happen. So we only get a couple mid-round picks from Florida, which, as a matter of fact, which was confirmed today from Tarasenko, Florida was the only team that he was willing to go to. So there's obviously not much you can do. Florida had all the leverage. Bill Zito knew that. So obviously he didn't have to give up a premium. He only had to lowball them, and Senators had to take the offer. The Senators, I'm disappointed with the return, but like I said, sometimes you just have to take the assets, and you just got to move on. Ottawa is retaining 50% of Tarasenko's salary, so Florida will only owe him $2.5 million. Ottawa still has to pay $2.5 million of his $5 million contract. So more about Steve Sales. He had a presser after the trade, and he was just talking about how this was the maximum return he could get. Obviously, if a guy is only willing to waive his no-trade clause for one team, you're not going to get much. He talked about how Tarasenko has family and whatnot, a house down in Florida, which is nice and all, but you want to look at Steve Sales and say, this is a National Hockey League team, not a charity club. So, at some point, you want to give Steve Sales a little bit of heat for it, and he's gotten plenty of it for this return. Obviously, we were hoping for a bit more, but Pierre Dorion was the one that signed this contract, gave him 1 year at a no-trade clause, which doesn't look good now, but keep in mind, people, Pierre Dorion did this in order to make the playoffs. They were hoping Tarasenko would be a guy that could help Ottawa push for the playoffs, and obviously we were nowhere near that this season. So a lot of fault goes on Pierre Dorion for this, but at the time you could somewhat understand Ottawa was trying to make the playoffs. They needed a top six winger, and Tarasenko was the guy. But obviously things didn't work out, and this is what you're left with. So again, Tarasenko to the Panthers for a conditional fourth that could become a 2026 third and a 2025 third, and we'll just see what happens from there. Obviously, Kubalik and Brandstrom are two guys that have been named as potential trade candidates from the Ottawa Senators. We'll see if that happens moving forward tomorrow, which is the deadline. I'll have a couple of videos out if I need to. My catch-up episode for the Ducks and the Kings games will be coming out, and a Sharks preview will be coming out Saturday. So that's just my thoughts of the Tarasenko trade. That's what's coming up tomorrow and Saturday. But comment down below what you think about this trade. I obviously think it's a low return, but given the circumstances of Tarasenko's no-trade clause, there's not much Steve Sales could have done there. So, again, comment down below your thoughts. But for now, this is Jack the Ottawa Senators Outlook, and go Sens go.
Thank you for watching this presentation of the Ottawa Senators Outlook. For more of this podcast, click on the videos on the left, and subscribe by clicking on the icon on the right. Thank you.